This video is about the biggest trends at CES 2019, but before we jump into that, we've got to cover one big announcement that we haven't actually gotten to yet. AMD held their press conference yesterday. AMD held their press conference yesterday, and after dilly-dallying around with some stuff about second-gen Ryzen mobile processors, AMD-powered Chromebooks, and an appearance by Xbox's Phil Spencer to talk about the power of friendship.
Truly fantastic. Now, I have to say, guys, Phil is a legend in the gaming industry. Is Phil a legend?
AMD finally announced their new high-end flagship graphics card, the Radeon 7. I guess because it's Vega 2, so it's a V and then two I's. It's Roman numerals. It's the first desktop GPU built on a 7nm process with 60 compute units, 16 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory, and AMD claims it's around 30% more powerful than the RX Vega 64 in content creation and gaming. So according to Dr. Lisa Su, that means it's on par with or better than Nvidia's RTX 2080, especially using Vulkan, the incredibly popular graphics API. That was sarcasm, but I'm not the only one sassing the card. When asked about what he thinks about the Radeon 7, Nvidia CEO Jensen Wang told Gizmodo, it looks dumb. It looks lousy. That's dumb. Okay, what he actually said was the launch was underwhelming and it lacks ray tracing and DLSS, and that in real benchmarks, the RTX 2080 will crush it. When asked to respond to Jensen, Lisa took the high ground, saying Jensen hasn't actually seen the card and that she's not going to go tit for tat with insults. I mean, she is a doctor. She doesn't walk around wearing leather jackets looking for a bar fight. Now, Radeon 7 is going to launch in February for $699, the same price as the RTX 2080. So let's hope it is actually competitive. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the trends this year at CES. The show might make you think of laptops and phones and cameras, but one of the biggest trends this year was actually cars, flying cars, walking cars, self-driving cars. Even beyond the major players like Waymo, Uber, and Tesla, almost every major tech company now has some sort of stake in autonomous driving. Nvidia and Mercedes have partnered to create a computer that defines the future of autonomous vehicles, while Microsoft is helping LG work on AI for its self-driving and infotainment systems for cars. Toyota talked about their fully autonomous Chauffeur technology, but said they're focusing on their semi-autonomous Guardian system, which will allow a car to take control from its driver in order to avoid accidents, which strangely sounds kind of terrifying, if only because I either want to just accept that the car is driving or I'm driving. Who's driving? Who's on foist? In other car news, Bose announced it's bringing active noise canceling from headphones to cars. Bell showed off the prototype for their Nexus Air Taxi. Hyundai teased their work on the Cradle walking car, and Walmart said they'll be testing self-driving grocery delivery in Arizona. Those poor Arizona residents. When the robot car revolution happens, they'll be on the front lines. The next big trend we're talking about is digital assistants. Yep, every product at this freaking show and its dog now has Alexa, Bixby, or Google Assistant baked in. And that is only set to increase. With Google Assistant Connect, the company's new system for easily adding support to devices as simple as an e-ink display or a single button. Google Assistant can be found in the new Lenovo Smart Clock, sort of an Echo Spot type device, Dish's Hopper TV receivers, and even the Anker Roav Bolt, a car charger. Really? Google Assistant itself also got some new features in addition to being added to Maps, so now you can tell your USB car charger to check into your flight. And it will do it. It doesn't care. As we talked about in an earlier episode, Samsung added Bixby to basically every product they make, but Alexa is showing up in more and more places as well. Lenovo announced the Smart Tab, an Android tablet that essentially turns into an Echo Show when plugged into a speaker dock. Alexa also made her way into a bike called the Seebic E-Legend. And gaming peripherals from Razer and Thermaltake. Alexa, pwn some noobs for me. Now, I can't tell whether this is going to usher in a bright future or a grim dystopia where everyone's going to be asking for the weather forecast from their table lamp. But regardless, it's time for Quick Bits, brought to you by SeeSonic, who's sponsoring all of Techlinked CES 2019 coverage. Power supplies. They're the heart of every PC build, so make sure yours is the most efficient and dependable by getting a power supply from SeeSonic. They've been making power supplies for 40 years. Trust me, they know what they're doing. Why take a chance on some other unit when you know full well that a SeeSonic power supply is going to take good care of your components, like a loving parent bringing you a bowl of hot soup on a rainy day, when you've got the sniffles. If you're looking for a power supply for your next build or upgrade, choose SeeSonic. Click the link in the description below for more info. Yeah, well, I guess it's time for quick bits. Now, another huge trend this year has been robots, whether they be somewhat useful models like the butler type Ubtech Walker, or the food delivery type like the Segway Lumo, or robots that aren't intended for any use at all, like the Lovot, a confusingly cute baby pet thing. In fact, the robot's maker GrooveX seems to intentionally show that the Lovot is clumsy and inept. But it's cute! Dennis loves them!
Yeah, I do.
No. There were some cool robots. The Misty II is meant more as a platform for programming than a fully formed product, and the Temi can follow you around performing digital actions from voice commands, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tablet on wheels. So these bots are cool, but we're still waiting for C-3PO. That sounds like an Oscar-nominated film. Hey, you like TVs and/or large monitors the size of TVs? Well, there were lots. LG and Samsung both showed off enormous 8K OLED displays, while Panasonic debuted the world's first OLED 4K TV with Dolby Vision, HDR10+, and HLG for super wide dynamic range. There are huge screens everywhere at the show, including LG's giant OLED Falls display that briefly made me believe I was barreling through the void of space. But giant monitors also showed up with Alienware's 55-inch OLED gaming TV, which Linus took a look at, and the HP Omen Emperium 65-inch monitor. Speaking of gaming, there were a lot of treats this year for PC gamers. Nvidia launched the mobile versions of their RTX graphics cards, which can now be found in basically every new gaming laptop announced, and we got the debut of the world's first 240Hz laptops in the HP Omen 15, ASUS Strix Scar 2, and the Alienware M15. And that last one will also have a 4K OLED version. Alienware also showed off their Area 51M gaming laptop, which can have a number of components swapped out and replaced, including the CPU and GPU, if you want to do that. Razer had a particularly interesting reveal in their HyperSense system, which adds haptic feedback to the keyboard, mouse, headset, and even your chair for a sort of haptic 3D experience. Also, of course, we got the launch of the RTX 2060 and the Radeon 7, but we already talked about that, so yeah. And last but not least, 5G, that ethereal, abstract concept, was as much of a buzzword as ever, and not much else. It seems like everyone really wants to get to 5G like now. Verizon launched a very limited network in a few US cities that requires a hotspot to use, while AT&T just skipped that whole thing and just started claiming 4G was 5G. 'Cause why not? What's the difference? Samsung had a 5G smartphone in a case at their booth that didn't do anything. Qualcomm and Intel probably had the most convincing demos using 5G to stream video between devices, but it's hard to get hyped about something that has so much hype around it and has yet to truly make it into the real world. But hopefully it will. So that's some of the trends this year at CES, guys. Thanks for watching, but this video is over. You can keep watching, but not much is going to happen. I can't promise anything's going to happen. What you can do is subscribe to Techlinked, because we're going to be back tomorrow with our last episode of the week, taking a look at the most ridiculous things we saw at CES. I can't wait. See you then. See ya. What are you looking at? What's over? What are you looking at?
I just peed away.
What are you looking at?